Scientifically, being able to find the right company and the right person at the right company jumpstarts your job search. It also helps you if you're working in a job and you're looking for new clients for sales, or what I call large-scale business development. We have some other courses coming on, once you get the job, how to do a better job. But by the end of this lesson, you will know how to use BetterJob platform to find any organization and verifiably get in touch with almost anyone in the world. I know it sounds too good to be true, but it works. Importantly, you'll also know how to determine the right people to target in your job search. First, sign into the BetterJob platform. Go to the BetterJob homepage, betterjob.org, and scroll all the way down to the bottom of the web page to the footer that says Log In. You will be redirected to a page that will require a username and login. Enter your username and the login you received by email. Please note that you can't be logged into the system in more than one place at the same time. If you do, you'll be automatically signed out of your older session. Once you are logged into BetterJob, you will see 6 tabs. They are Organizational Search, which is where you will be able to search through a database of over 1 million current company emails. Favorites, which is a built-in customer relation management system known as a CRM. This is the place where your saved companies will appear, where you can take notes and keep yourself very organized on the same platform. The next section, Find Emails, is where you will be able to find almost anyone's email in the world. I know it doesn't sound true, but it is. Quick Help is the next section, which gives pictorial explanations to guide you through any simple problem. The next section is Training, where you can find lessons like these and more resources that we are continually adding, where you can find helpful downloadables, resume templates, guides, and war stories from people who have used the system with their own style, their own niche, their own spin. You will also see this in the top right corner, which is our email tracker technology. This is pretty unique, and I love this. In a different lesson, we'll walk you through how to use it to see if your recipient opens your email. I love sending an email and waiting and waiting and waiting. And if I'm waiting 2 days, I know I've got a flop. If the person opens it 3 or 4 times in the next 24 hours, that changes my approach and my psychology. Now, lastly, at the bottom right of your screen, you will see the live chat box. You can click on this at any time. If you need help or want to talk directly to one of our coaches, or even to me, we're watching that thing 24/7, use it. Ask me any question and we'll get you an answer. Let's start with the Organizational Search tab. In the Search Parameters fields, you will find 7 different filters to narrow down your search. Name, broad categories, specific categories, size, city, state, and country. Spend some time thinking about this because you're building a foundation to find your perfect job. Plus, you have 3 or 4 checkboxes to limit your screen further. You'll get used to it as you work with it. Let's run through each filter. First, we'll look at the search by company name. This is pretty intuitive. It's simply used to look up a company that you already know by name, something that's familiar. Gee whiz, I'd like to work at Patagonia, or I'd like to work at Apple. You will rarely use this filter because more often than not, you'll be using this database to discover new companies, which is where the secret is, not ones you're already familiar with. Next, broad categories. This is the first real filter to help you find great companies. If you scroll through this list, there are about 60 broad categories to choose from. Generally, you can think of these as industries or verticals. We call them verticals. So you have things like advertising, financial services, or healthcare, or hospitality. Some particularly useful categories that we will circle back a couple of times are private equity and venture capital, and a third called family offices. We'll talk about that later. You can select one broad category or highlight as many categories as you'd like to by holding down the Command key on a Mac or a Control key on a PC. It's important to note that for this filter and all other filters on the BetterJob platform, the search default is OR, O-R. This means that if you select multiple items, the results will display on all companies that fit any of your selected items. You'll get used to using the filters. They're pretty intuitive. For example, if you want to select advertising or artificial intelligence or advertising and artificial intelligence, you will get a list that has advertising companies, AI companies, and if it exists, AI advertising companies. Watch for them, they're coming very quickly. Highlight as many categories as you'd like to broaden your search. Next, more specific categories. You can either use the broad categories filter OR or the more specific categories filter, but you can't use both at once. I suggest the specific categories. Whoa. Am I boring you guys? Do you want to shut this off? Do you want your money back? I don't know. I can't get any feedback from you, but I'm going to keep going. So let's go to the broad categories. Focus on an industry. The more specific categories include more than 1,000 different categories. They get very granular and focus in on specific types of businesses with products and services. For example, you'll find things like coffee, collection agency, even comic books. These filters are meant to help you really drill down to a specific subset of companies within a specific industry or vertical. In case you are ever confused, you can always hover your mouse over the question mark. You'll see a pop-up that reminds you to only use either broad categories or specific categories, not both at once. Now let's look at the size. This is pretty straightforward. Size refers to how many employees work at a company, and it can be very deceptive. Again, you can select one option or multiple using the Command key on Macs or the Control key on PCs. Lastly, location. There are 3 different filters for location: city, state, country, which allows you to narrow your search. Since there are tens of thousands of cities out there, there's no list or drop-down menu here. Instead, you can type the name of the city you're looking for directly into the box. For state and country, you can select as many as you choose. Remember that this is an OR search, meaning that if you select the Bahamas and Canada, you'll get companies in the Bahamas and companies in Canada, not just companies in both. Now, finally, we can take a look at these 4 boxes here. This is going to be one of the most useful features. Here you can select if the companies are recently funded, public companies, or Inc. 5000. That's important. And career links, which refers to companies that have open jobs posted on their website, which is important. It shows they're hiring, but you're going to bypass that job board instantly. We call these confidence markers because they help you identify companies that are more likely to be hiring people. For example, if a company just closed on a $10 million round of financing 60 days ago, guess what? They're hiring. That's an indicator that they're a good target if they fit your broader categories. So we will get more into why that is important in a later session: private equity, investors, public companies, etc. But the short of it is that it can be useful to know which companies are growing and therefore need to hire more people to continue to scale and grow their businesses quickly. Oftentimes, you can't find these burgeoning companies on the job boards like LinkedIn or Indeed. Rather, they will only post openings on their own websites. This is actually advantageous to you because it means fewer people will know about openings and apply. Very few people go to a company and look at their job site. This will limit your competition for that job, which is good. For example, some postings on LinkedIn will get literally thousands and thousands of applications, while posting on a company website will only get less than 100 statistically. Now that you have a basic grasp of what the filters are, let's take a look at how to use them. You can select any of the 7 filters according to your interests. For example, let's select broad category box apps. Let's select size, at least 50 plus employees. I do this by holding the control button and selecting everything 50 and above. And finally, for the state, let's choose New York. Now I click search. After the system loads, you will see the results. The results are organized in a spreadsheet with 12 columns. Here's how they're organized. Number 1, organizational name. Number 2, size. Number 3, year of founding. Number 4, broad categories. Number 5, more specific categories. Number 6, city. Number 7, state. Number 8, country. Number 9, email structure, which we will explain in a little while from now. Number 10, confidence marketers. A, the green dollar sign means it's been recently funded. That's important. B, the orange bull means it's a public company, which means you can learn a lot about that company. C, the red rocket ship means it's an Inc. 5000 or a fastest growing company. That's a good one that's hiring. D, and the blue thumbs up means the company has open jobs on their website. Number 11, links to the company's homepage and LinkedIn page. 12, and finally, a star toggle that lets you identify your favorite companies so you can keep track of them in your favorites tab at the top. Just like Netflix or Amazon, the way I put my movies aside that I want to watch in the future. Also, if you scroll to the bottom left, you will see how many records come back from your search. Whenever you're ready to do another search, always press the reset button first to make sure you didn't leave any parameters clicked on by accident, which would foil your new set. Now you know how to find practically almost any company in the world. Easy, right? You can do it in a half hour. But how do you find the right person working at the right company? I'll walk you through it. Let's go back and search apps with the 50 or more employees in New York again. So within our database, we have more than 1 million companies, but we don't have the employees. The reason for this is that people are changing jobs every day. It would be nearly impossible to keep track of where hundreds of millions of people are working at any given time, right? But the good news is, though, is that we don't need to track this data at all. Here's why. Once we have identified a company, we can easily find its employees and then use the BetterJob's platform to get their email addresses, which we will break down in another lesson in the future. For now, let's get oriented by doing a quick search to see if you know anybody at your target company off the top of your head. There are 3 main strategies. Number 1, first, you can click the company's website. To get to the company's website, click here, this little chain icon, and it'll take you there. 9 times out of 10, a company's website will have an About Us or, quote, leadership page with employee names and biographies. This tends to be the most accurate place to look for employees that work at that company. Since the companies themselves will be keeping it updated on a regular basis, they're keeping your database prime for you. Second, the place to look is LinkedIn. LinkedIn also tends to be pretty accurate because people keep their own profiles up to date, like you're going to be doing on a regular basis. On LinkedIn, you can view the full profiles of anyone who is a first, second, or third degree connection, or who is part of a group that you belong to. That's why we told you earlier, start joining groups in areas that you feel some passion toward working in that area. If you can't see the profiles of anyone who works at a company, connect with one person who works there, and you'll be able to view almost all the employees through a chain reaction of looking at one employee and who are their friends, looking at another employee and who are their friends. I do this all the time. We will come back to this in a little more in a bit. The great thing about LinkedIn is that you don't need to pay to use it effectively, although there are some nice perks if you decide to upgrade. Lastly, the third and final place to look is simple Google searching. If the company is more well-known, typing something like CEO of company name or Chief Technology Officer of company name into Google will often give you the name of the person you're looking for. And a lot of them are not on LinkedIn. Okay, so you use those 3 techniques to find a handful of people who work at your target company. Great. Now, let's think about who you want to contact and why you want to contact them. Let's say you want to be a software engineer at Microsoft, or you found an open job at their website that interests you. Who's the big man at Microsoft? Bill Gates. Unfortunately, the odds of finding success emailing Bill Gates directly are smaller than the odds of your message going straight into spam or him not even seeing it. So if not Bill himself, then who? Many people's next inclination is HR, human resources, the person in charge of human resources. But you'll probably get a canned response pointing you to their job board. Instead, here's the order of who you should email. Number one, someone that you already know. Number two, someone who works there who knows someone in common with you, second or third degree connection on LinkedIn or other social media. Number three, someone you have a connection with. Could be a school, a previous job, a charity you both support, something, a LinkedIn group, some form of affinity connection. Number four, the person who is in charge of the department or group you are interested in working for. Your top choice is contacting somebody you already know. Just email them or call them directly. Yes, use a telephone. The next best option is a mutual friend or acquaintance. For instances like this, we have a great technique that saves time plus stress. LinkedIn is an excellent resource for checking to see if any of your connections or mutual connections work at your target company. It should be one of your first stops in your research. Do you have any contacts or do you have any shared connections that work close to 1, 2, 3 degrees of somebody who works at your target job place? If so, bingo, you've just won the lottery. It's as simple as that. But it takes a little time doing the networking and looking through the data, but you'll find it on LinkedIn. To check, go to the company's page and click on People. That's the People section for the actual company LinkedIn page. If you have any direct connections or indirect connections, you'll see them at the top. Below, you'll see current employees. Right beneath their names, you'll see if you have a shared connection. This is the friend of a friend, second degree connection, so to speak, and is just as good. My experience on LinkedIn is people really want to help other people. That's kind of the community that Reid Hoffman has built. Imagine you see on LinkedIn that you have a second connection to somebody who works at Microsoft. Usually, you might be inclined to reach out to your mutual friend directly to ask for a referral. However, since the BetterJob platform can get you anybody's email in the world, a better plus faster technique is to reach out directly to that contact and mention your mutual friend's name. You might want to let your mutual friend know that you're going to do that. I do that all the time. Hey, by the way, I just contacted Frank and I used your name, hope it's okay. In a later lesson, we'll walk you through a step-by-step process to exactly speak your message through your email to that cold contact. That's a little bit of the psychology. It's important to note that the connection level plus position don't really matter. They could be entry-level customer support or an executive in product design. It really doesn't matter. All that matters is that you have an in to your target company. That's what you're looking for. The third best option is someone with whom you have commonality. What is that? Put simply, this is a person with whom you have something in common. I call it an affinity relationship. In the old days, we used to call it an icebreaker. We were trying to find an icebreaker to get a conversation going. Remember, we're trying to get a conversation going that will get you into the company. All you need is a school, an interest, a charity, an experience, a hobby, a religious affiliation, military background, anything in common. The strategy is twofold. Number one, it shows you've taken an interest in this person plus done your research. People like to feel special. Plus the fact that you took time to learn something about them goes a long way in establishing any relationship, whether it's the first date of the woman you love or a job you're trying to land. Number two, people like to help people who make them feel good. Plus, remind them of themselves. We're only human after all, and it is a human nature. Because of the commonality or the affinity you share, you actually have something to talk about with the target person that's not just asking them for a favor, it's not just asking them for a job. You're focusing on something as human beings that you have a shared affinity to discuss. Now your contact is much more likely to help you or introduce you to the person who can help you, like the head of software engineering, who might be Bill himself. Who knows? How do you find commonalities? How do you find affinities? The two main tools at your disposal for finding commonalities between yourself plus someone at your target company are social media plus your school that you went to, if you went to school. If you don't have any mutual connections on LinkedIn, go to your school page profile, the profile for your school. Now this can be any school, high school, college, trade school, graduate school, special courses like this, it doesn't matter. I know two guys that met as a result of their following Tony Robbins and created a whole business. So then click on the alumni button for that school LinkedIn page and use the search option to add in the company's title. The results will show you anyone who went to your school plus works for your target company. That's a match, a valuable match. Keep in mind that an offline way to implement this strategy, reaching out to your school's guidance or career development department for help. Many colleges plus universities will help keep track of their grads and their alumni, and they may be able to connect you with them, and they usually will at your target company. So look for that alumni connection at a school you went to plus your target company. If the school connection doesn't pan out, it's time to dig deeper. Are you from an uncommon state or small town? Did you complete a competitive debate? Were you in a sorority or a fraternity? Start browsing the profile pages of the employees that work at your target company for any meaningful connection. Look for that affinity. Did you attend the same conference? Do you have the same hobby? Do you like dogs? As a final effort, you can look through this activity feed on their LinkedIn profile and see what they've posted. If they posted an article that you can comment on that interests you. This is commonality enough. I have built relationships by commenting on other leaders' posts and comments on social media and made a connection. Anything works. We're giving you tools. We're giving you the tools to take action to accomplish your dream. Odds are very good in your favor that if you work hard enough and you use these tools, you will find a connection. But what happens if you fail? That's okay. Go fail. Fail a lot. You'll be successful. If you did your research plus truly can't find any connection whatsoever, don't worry. Your backup plan is to find the person who is in charge of your target department and just go for it. It's important to note that there are some companies that claim they have a database with all the contacts you'll ever need. They'll charge you $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 to get access to that database. But the real truth is, they will never, ever be able to come close to the accuracy of the 3 search methods I just described. I know, I've paid those companies lots of money and it doesn't work. That's why we created this. So let's recap. You should now know how to navigate the organizational search tab in the BetterJob platform. You know how to find your target companies, how to find accurate information about who works at the target companies, and you know exactly who you should be targeting within each of those companies. Okay, now it's time to move on to finding those people's email addresses, the accurate email addresses using the BetterJob platform.